Dreamweaver, I believe we can make the moment right. Is that in tune? No, what the heck. Doesn't matter what's behind it. It actually does matter what's behind your voice, because it's really powerful when you do your intentions. This workshop is about dream weaving. It's about weaving dreams into your lives. Having dreams that you haven't even thought of into your lives. And so we're going to share some thoughts and ideas around this conversation today. We're going to look at a practical level, easy practical level that we can actually create more of stuff in our lives. I'm going to look at an even deeper level around that, around creating more stuff in our lives. I'm actually going to look at the big picture level, which is the Reader's Digest level, which is what I stumbled upon. The Reader's Digest level of actually how to manifest your dreams and make whatever that it is you desire real in your lives. Because let's face it, the easiest way to realize your dreams is to wake up. Hey, to think about that for a second. Oh, what the hell? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay, if you'd be so kind as to take a pen, and inside your handout there's a little area to make a big circle. So make a circle as big as the page if you'd be so kind. Big as the page. This is level 1. There's going to do 3 levels today. A couple of stories, a 3-part formula for dream weaving in your life. And I'll tell you a couple of stories that will kind of reinforce that. We're going to talk about the 2 things that drive people to change, to drive people to dreams. There are only 2 forces in the world: desperation and inspiration. We're going to talk. I'm going to do the desperation thing. I'm going to do the inspiration thing as well. Okay, those are the 2 motivators to change. Would you not agree? If you're desperate enough, you'll change. If you're inspired enough, you'll change. So I'm going to spend the lion's share in inspiration. In fact, I'll get it over with. How many people brought a checkbook? Did you see that in your list?
Yeah.
Okay. The reason for that, you're probably wondering, why would we bring a checkbook? Well, here it is. We're going to do some goal setting. I'm going to show you how to set goals. If you want to create enough desperation around that to make sure, I guarantee it'll happen, write a check for $1,000 to your best friend, give her the list of goals you want to achieve and the date you want to achieve them, and if you don't achieve them, she cashes the check. That's it.
Wow.
That's it. And it works. I have a coaching colleague that works on $5,000 checks for high executives, and the executive said, I'm going to do this X, Y, and Z by the end of September. And she said, fine, write a $5,000 check to me. I'll make it out to me. And she actually, one of her workshops, she said, do you like my new clothes? Because they don't follow through necessarily. But typically they do, because there's enough motivation there. So if it's 500 or 1,000 or $100, just that little desperation twist. You know how you get that little twist of desperation, it's enough to make you drive you on that. So I'm going to leave desperation alone. The rest of our talk today is about inspiration. So if you wonder what the check was all about, that's what it's all about. Inspiration. So let's get inspired about this, folks. If you'd be so kind as to divide your Dreamweaver map, and this is a map of your life. This is a map of who you are. This is a map of where you're at right now. It's a snapshot. Okay? It's a snapshot of who you are and where you're at right now in your life. There are typically 7 areas of our lives, 7 hats that we wear, 7 ways that we play out our lives. So I do 3 and 1. Okay? So what I'd like you to do, if you'd be so kind, is to fill in the 7 areas of our lives. And you can probably think of what they might be, but I'll just fill them in for you, and then I'll go back over them to give you some thoughts and ideas around what they actually mean. Okay, so we have one life. One area of our life is a family, of course. That's a very important area of our lives. We all have families. That's typically closer relations. Obviously moms and dads and maybe aunts and uncles, and they may or may not be part of your immediate family. But this is an immediate family. The other network we could have would be the social network. Okay, this would be your friends, your church, your community, your neighborhood, your social connections. That would be a hat that we wear. We have a role, if you will, in our social networks. One of the other areas, of course, is our mind. How we take care of our mental health, and that's one of the areas that we have to nurture and take care of and set goals for to keep it alive and awake and aware. Now we have the mind. We then have, of course, the body, which would be represented by our health. Represented by our health, and of course, body, mind, and soul or spirit. I say spirit. I'm not sure what the difference between spirit and soul is, but spirit seems to make more sense. So body, mind, soul, spirit, and then of course we have our career. That's a hat that we wear. We put that hat on every day at 8:30, come to work, and because of our career, we have something called our finances or our abundance. I'll just put the dollar sign there. Now, if you want a capture word that sort of explains this a little bit more, explores it a little bit deeper, I'll give you some capture words. Capture words. Your social network is about your interdependence. It's about the bus driver that takes you to work every day. It's about your neighbors. It's about the community, sense of community. And when we live in the interdependent in the community, we have what's called Ubuntu, and we have that because it's about I am because we are. That's what Ubuntu means. I am because we are. So it's that interdependence of life. The mind is about flowing and growing. You could also call that creativity, but a stuck mind, for example, is not a very well place to be. A mind that's stuck, and you know people that get stuck in their imaginations and their righteousness and all that kind of stuff. So abundance and celebration of the mind would be a flowing mind, a growing mind, a creative mind. Okay, the body would be your harmony, because all your body is, folks, is a series, is a setup of molecules vibrating. That's what your body is, molecules vibrating. If they vibrate at a high level, then you're healthy. If they vibrate at a low level, or if they don't vibrate at all, then you get cancer. That's what cancer cells are, the molecules that go like that, they're all tight vibrations, right? So that's what the harmony is about all that. So how are you doing on your body health with harmony? Your spirit is not just church, mosque, synagogue. That's not what I mean by spirit. I mean, that can be your spiritual pursuit, but I'm talking more about that connection to something greater than yourself. It could be walking in nature, it could be standing on the edge of the ocean, it could be looking up at the stars and saying, wow, thank you for letting me be alive on this planet. And with all that conversation, there's a certain sense that you're not totally in charge of your life, as some people like to think. So the spiritual key word there is just the very simple word, humility. That you're humbled to something different, to something greater than you. So your spiritual humility. Your career, of course, is your talents in service. Your talents in service to someone else. When your talents are in service, you're doing a career. You're getting paid for your money. Now, a career actually doesn't have to be a paid job. A career can be volunteer. It's how you put your talents in service. We call it career because that's a simple way to put it. But that doesn't ignore a huge volunteer sector in our society. Like retired folks they're big on talents for service, right? So that's that as a category of energy. That's what that's about. Finances are simply about your abundance. How much abundance do you have? Now that's not cash in the bank. That's whether you have a beautiful home, whether you have beautiful art, whether you have beautiful surroundings, whether you have beautiful clothes, whether you cherish beauty, whether you having cash and investments and all that stuff is fine. It's more your collection of how you celebrate your abundance. And family, last but not least, is about intimacy. Because let's face it, your family members are the closest to your heart. And when the people that are closest to your heart reveal a great deal about who you are as well. So let me spell it for you. Spell it like this, just for fun. IN-TO-ME-SEE. Intimacy. If you don't know what I'm talking about, have a fight with somebody and discover what you know about yourself. It's always there, isn't it? So, career, family, social, mind, body, health, spirit, career. Now there are more hats that we wear. There are more roles that we have. I appreciate that. But these are 7 really clear ones. They kind of categorize themselves, and of course they weave with each other all the time. That's why they're all together in the pie chart. But what I'd like you to do is take a snapshot of where you're at today. And I do this for level 1 because it helps you know where you want to go. That's all it is. It helps you know where you want to go. So if you know where you're at, it helps you know where you want to go. So this is how it works. The center of the chart represents 0. Now, if you're really at 0, you're kind of dead because that represents nothingness. There's nothing there. But this can be charted off as on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 to 10. 10 being the outside of the wheel. 10 being complete and fulfilling contentment, satisfaction, abundance, and happiness. Okay, 10 out of 10 is complete happiness. 7 out of 10, not so great. 5 out of 10, not so good. So what I'd like you to do is mark your own lives from your social relationships, and this is a snapshot for you. You don't have to share this with anybody, but a snapshot for you. Mark your own lives as to where you're at now. Okay? You can mark it down any way you want. You can put a number beside it, you can just chart it on the map. Okay, just mark your spot, if you will, on the map, on the grid. And go with, for first impulses is probably the best to go with on that, because we tend to debate it as well. There is that one, oh, pretty good over there, but just first gut reaction. Don't spend much time on just gut reaction. Now, if you have some colored markers and you want to make it real pretty, you can connect the dots. And you can shade it in. That represents your snapshot, right? That's where you're at right now. Don't worry if you got a bumpy wheel. The road of life is often a bumpy road. So a couple of dynamics of the model. One, it gives you a sense of where you're at right now, okay? So the conversation would be, if you score just like I scored myself a 7 out of 10 in mine, for example. Now, on one level of the conversation, it's a really easy thing to do. If you score 7 out of 10, that means you need to do 3 things before you have happiness, contentment, and satisfaction in your mind area. Make sense? So for me, those 3 things, I don't read enough, and I got a book idea that's sitting in my head, and I don't discipline myself to write it down, and I also want to talk to people that are much wiser than me. So for me, a really simple way to get my 10 out of 10 satisfaction would be to meet regularly with a mentor, someone that I respect and admire, discipline myself to read at least an hour a day, discipline myself to write at least 2 hours a day. So those are very concrete goals. If I went back to you in a month and I said, you asked me, did you do that? I could say, yeah, I spent 5 times with Joe Smith. I did an hour and a half and 45 minutes one day and 45 minutes the next on reading. So I did partially, so you can actually measure that, okay? So if you did that, you would fulfill your goal. So that's one level of the conversation. That's a goal setting workshop. I don't do goal setting workshops. Can't stand them. Don't like them. Drive me nuts. But I'm duty bound to share that with you because it's a nice little model. So you could do that. Okay, so we have this map, and you could use a goal setting. You could take your handout that you have now and drill right into this and do a bunch of really cool stuff around actually fulfilling those last little pieces of the goal. That's on one level of the conversation. Okay? I'd like to take it to 2 other levels of the conversation. Would you like to indulge me? That's yeah. Okay, the second level of the conversation is a different level. But this map is actually a chart of how much gratitude you have for your life right now. That your life is actually already 10 out of 10. It's complete. It's fulfilled. It's already complete. That what happens here is that we lose the picture that we are already 10 out of 10. And you know what's really cool? When you actually reach 10 out of 10, guess what happens? You did. I like that. You did. No, when you reach that 10 out of 10, your circle gets bigger. And you become dissatisfied again, and you want more. Because let's face it, your 10 out of the 10 when you were 10 years old is very different than 15, 20, 35, and 29 as it is right now. That's a little age joke there. So you're 29, and in another 5 years it's going to be different. So it's not about, you can manifest goals and dreams, that's fine. But I just want to tag the conversation that this is actually a reflection of how much gratitude you have for the life if you view your life as complete as it is right now. Now, one small example. Let me give you one small example, because one small example is that one of the barriers to manifesting your dreams is to not be grateful for the form that your wealth is already in, your abundance is already in. Let me give you one example. Right down here under relationships, interpersonal relationships. I did this chart with a leadership team in the healthcare industry, and one of the leaders said, yeah, I'm 9 out of 10 in relationships, but I've got everything I like, great friends and all that stuff, but I just don't have my man. Okay, so she wanted a man. Okay, that was her thing. She wanted to have a man. And I said, well, what? If you look at the law of abundance, your man is actually already with you. It's just in a form that you don't appreciate. So in what form is your man? Is that energy of the man with you that you haven't come to appreciate and be grateful for? And she said, and I said, what kind of stuff do you look for in a man, in your soulmate kind of thing? And she said stuff like this, that I feel myself when I'm with them. I don't have to put any pretense. I'm with myself. I feel like I'm really comfortable with myself. I'm really excited to be with them. And she also said she wanted someone to caress her face and hair. Very natural, caress her face and hair. And she also wanted to feel really connected to the person, feel really connected. And I said, well, according to the law of abundance, you already have your 10 out of 10. But if you don't appreciate it in the form that's already in, you're not going to see it that way, so you're going to score yourself lower than what's really the truth. So I said, what do you do for fun? And she proceeded to talk about what she does for hiking. She goes for hikes. And this was a Wednesday course, and she actually came back from a course she actually went for a long hike in Cape Chignecto on the weekend. And she talked to the group about how she loves hiking and how she went for this solo hike in the woods. And when she came out of the woods, she was standing on the edge of the cliff, and she just felt like she was one with nature. And the sweat was beating off her face, and the wind was caressing her hair and blowing in her face. And she was standing there going like this. And she actually was so, well, let me put it this way. By the time she got finished describing her hike in the woods, someone said, "Has anybody got a cigarette?" Because what she had disguised was actually making love. Her lover was nature. And I said, have you ever given thanks for the form that your lover's in? For the form that you can find your lover in, to feel it's totally connected to something greater than yourself, to feel like you can really be yourself, to have that caress of your hair and your face. And have you ever given thanks for that? And she started to tear up. And I never have. I've never given thanks for the form that I hold my lover in. And she gave thanks, which she actually wrote a letter to herself, which is a wonderful activity to do. And she emailed me a month later, and guess what? Some hunky guy had joined the Halifax Hiking Club, and they were started to date. Now, isn't that cool? So it wasn't as if she didn't have it. It was just there in a form that she didn't appreciate. And that's one of on the three scales of the dreamscape that I'm going to share with you. One of the scales is to receive, and one of the barriers to reception of a dreamscape is to be attached to the form that you think it should be in. The form you think it should be in. So I want to share some thoughts and ideas around that. Okay? So you could go through this whole thing and say, what's missing for me to feel complete spiritual connection? Where is my wealth now? Maybe you don't have a lot of cash in the bank, but by gosh, you've got wealth. $5 for every friend, yeah? Or 30 cents for every time you get a hug from a kid. Like, there's wealth in our lives, is what I'm saying. And we can beat ourselves up about, oh, poor woe's me, I can't pay the bills every month, and blah, 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 blah. But there's a lot more to that. In fact, there's an activity that I can share with you if you have a low score in finances. One thing you can do every time you get a bill, before you open up the envelope, you know how you get the bills in the mail? Before you open up the envelope, write in the smallest handwriting you can possibly imagine, that you can still see legible, write on the bill for Visa, telephone, power, Eastlink, television, phone, whatever, cable. Write on the bill, before you open the envelope, write in the tiniest letters you can, everything that you're grateful for because you have this service. Everything. Like cover the bill, cover the paper, cover the envelope. When you open up that envelope, I assure you that bill will have a different thing, a different feeling. Now, it's not like the Visa ad where the numbers fall off the page, but it feels differently. And what changed was your attitude towards your wealth, your abundance. That's just another part of this layer 2 thing, okay? So that's layer 1 and layer 2. So that's where you can go with that. So you can take each one of these and score yourself a little bit bigger, score yourself a little bit better. Okay? Make sense? Any questions? I want to share with you a model for dreamweaving. Now, this may give you some background for where you want to place your dreams, but I'm going to share you a model for dreamweaving. And I stumbled upon this model, this process, if you will. It's a bit of an amalgamation, but I want to tell you my personal journey because I want to share not the desperation part of it, but the inspiration part of it, about how if you actually weave a dream into your life, you can make it come true. So the first part of the dream weaving is to ask. There's 3 parts. Ask, believe, and receive. Okay, we'll make notes. Ask, believe, and receive. The first part is to ask. So how you ask is really, really powerful. If you say, well, gosh, I'd like to have a better relationship. Yeah, I hope that comes someday. Now, how much energy did I put into that? Okay? Nothing. You're going to get exactly what you get back out. Let me share with you my first dreamscape, and the first thing that really woke me up and actually shocked me to how powerful it was to be able to be a dream weaver. I was at the Athen restaurant in November of 1999 with my buddy Frank. Frank is Frank by name, Frank by nature. At the time I was working with this Family Violence Prevention Initiative, which is an interdepartmental provincial government initiative that works with the Department of Health, Department of Education, Department of Community Services, and Justice. We coordinate the response to family violence. Fabulous job. I love working with government, love the resources, love the impact that we can make in the short term and the long term, and I really love the job, but I have to be honest with you, I was getting a little burned out because my job was to research and train teachers, paramedics, police officers, nurses on how humans violate each other. and what to look for and how to help them. It's a heavy stuff, you know what I'm saying? It's like working the Valley of Despair, that's what I call it. So, you know, like I had the resource to do a fabulous job, you know, traveled the province, trained community agencies, trained the government folks, I had a lot of fun and felt that I made a difference. But personally, it was taking a toll. So I was feeling a little burned out by the fall of 1999. I said to Frank, over Souvlaki at the Athens restaurant, I said, Frank, I'm thinking about leaving my civil service job. Now with Frank, of course, Frank Benage, he looked at me, he looked me right in the eye and he said, when? And he caught me, I didn't have a moment's hesitation to doubt what I was going to say, but I said it anyway. I said, the first thing that popped into my mind, just inspired to say this date, I said July 4th, Independence Day 2000. And it shocked me that I actually named that day. It was crystal clear, just like a shiny diamond. I just named that date. And I said, wow, Frank, I can't believe I just said that. He said, well, guess what? Write it down on a napkin. So I grabbed the napkin, wrote it down, and actually took it home. I put it in a picture frame that I was going to declare to leave my civil service job in 2000, July the 4th. November 1999, January 2000, I became full-time, part-time. So I actually got benefits and dental and all that stuff. So I was actually going the opposite direction. I wasn't going to be laid off. I was actually becoming more full-time. So I said, I'll let that go. The April budget cuts would come in April 2000. Remember those? They kick around 2000. //hack. And for the HR folks, I got the HR story for you. High drama. They take me up to the HR office. We were housed in the Department of Community Service at the time. And they take me up to the HR office. High drama. The House is sitting. They're actually announcing the budget. HR brings us in one at a time to give us the news. And of course, you know, they sit you down, right? And there's the good cop and the bad cop. There's the person that gives you the news and the person with the Kleenex box. You know those. You know the one. Kleenex box. The bad news, the good news. And they said, you know, we're sorry to announce that the government's, you know, announcing the budget and your program's been cut and you're going to be out of the job. I said, oh, geez. You know, I was kind of trying not to be too giddy because I was actually quite excited by the possibilities. I just looked at them with a straight face and I said, will there be a package? And they said, oh yeah, don't worry about that, there's a package. So there's like a severance thing, right? So I got out the door and I went, yes! And then I walked down the hall and my last day of work was June the 21st, 2000. So I personally manifested the budget cuts of 2000. But that's the first time I realized how creepy it is when you put a dream out there. I put it in a frame. I want to share that with you. The dream phase is really powerful. For the dream phase, you have to name it out loud, write it down, or tell somebody else. If you do all three, you're batting 100. Name it out loud. Don't just think it. Don't say, oh gosh, it'd be nice to have a relationship, it'd be nice to change. Name it out loud, write it down, or tell somebody else. Because when you tell somebody else, you become accountable. When you write it down, it gets out of your imagination, gets out of your dreaming, your fantasy, if you will. Because the easiest way to make a dream come alive is to wake up. So when you wake up your dream, you put it out there for the world to scrutinize. Because it feels like that sometimes, doesn't it? Put it out there for them to scrutinize. So write it down, speak it out loud, or make it accountable. So I put mine in a picture frame. And that's one example, but I want to tell you the other example that we use through my life. Now, I told you I stumbled upon this process 3 times. When I mean stumble, I mean I stumbled. I didn't read a book, I didn't do anything. I just stumbled upon it. The second time I stumbled upon this process of actually bringing to my life what it is that I desired and dreamed about was in April of 2005. April 2005, I was doing some work in Ireland, Northern Ireland, and doing with some youth service agencies, folks working with the young folks in Northern Ireland, just tremendous organizations, good schools and all kinds of cool stuff going on there. I did a week's worth of training because I wrote a book on violence prevention for teenagers, and they were using it over there and all this kind of stuff. And the guy that was hosting me said, why don't you come up to the weekend, come up to my cottage on the weekend, we'll spend some time on the north coast of Ireland. I said, that'd be great, thank you so much. So we drove up to the north coast of Ireland, a little place called Castle Rock. It's the cutest little village. It looks like it's right out of the medieval era, all stone buildings and stuff. It's the sweetest little place. And they call it Castle Rock because there's an old derelict castle, like an old ruined castle up on the hillside. And the castle's ruined, but we went for a hike up along the moors, and we could actually see on the edge of a cliff was something called the Mussenden Temple. It was a round rotunda-style building that still had the windows in it. It was empty, but it still had the windows in it. It was actually used by the National Trust for various events that I found out later. Actually, it was actually used for weddings. I didn't know that at the time. But when I walked in, I was inspired. You know, when you just get uplifted by something that happens to you, you're in the right time, the right place, the right moment. I was inspired with the love and romance that was in this place. I had no idea it was used for weddings, but I was just lifted by it. Oh my gosh. I've been singing for, well, far too long. And so I got this crazy idea. I didn't even think about it. It was crystal clear in my mind. I just bent over and I picked up a floor towel and I held it up and I looked at Tim and I said, Tim, I'm going to invite the woman I love to come back to Ireland. I'm going to put our marriage proposal underneath that floor towel. Just happened to, it just came to my mind. And Tim looked at me and said, Pete, you don't even have a girlfriend. I said, no, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just thought of that. I can't help myself. So I put it back down. I took a picture of it, and I left. April 2005. Went back home. Never thought of it again. Just put the dream out there. I wove the dream into my life. I just wove it in. I made it accountable. I said it out loud, and Tim was definitely going to check on me if it should ever happen. So fast forward till July 2006, summer 2006. I went to the Stan Rogers Folk Festival. And I'd been single for the whole year, didn't date anybody or anything. And I was standing there at the folk festival on the Friday night, and you know how Kansas was really like foggy, misty? Well, it was a really sort of mystical moment. But through the fog and mist walks Andy. Now, Andy and I dated 18 years ago. And it turns out that she had just separated from her husband. So we spent the whole weekend watching music and having a wonderful time. We got together, of course. We started dating. That was the summer of 2006, the fall of 2006. Things were really going really well. We decided to take a trip together in January of 2007. And I wasn't like, I was kind of holding back. You know, I wasn't really like, I love you, love you, love you. But I was holding back. I felt this was going really good, and I think it's going to be okay. But January 2007, we went to Costa Rica. We hiked up Mount Chiripo, which is Costa Rica's highest mountain. It was an incredible hike. It's like 11-hour hike, 14 kilometers up 6,000 feet. And the fact that we just did it, I thought, that's it. If she can do that with me, like every little kilometer was a metaphor for life, getting through the tough times, you know, struggling with water, blisters, but we supported each other. And I thought, this is it. This is life. If we can do this journey, we can do life. So I got to the top of the mountain. I said to myself, oh, what a fantastic place to invite her to ask her to marry me. I actually said that to her. I said, look, this would be a great place for asking to marry me, but I'm not going to. Now, just before she kicked me off the mountain, I said, would it be enough to tell you I want to spend the rest of my life with you? And she said, okay. And I said to her, I didn't give her a lot, but my second thought after I thought about marrying her was the fact that I had this dream about Ireland. I wanted to bring my gal, which it looks like it's going to be her, bring her back to Ireland. And I had no trips to Ireland planned. I had nothing going on. I just held my dream. I held my dream. I believed in my dream. And I said, I have something else in mind. That's all I said. I have something else in mind. And she said, okay, well, if you want to spend the rest of my life, that's fine. So back down the mountain, back to San Jose, checking the emails, and guess what? Well, you know what happened. You had a meeting in Ireland. I got an invitation to speak at a conference in Ireland. Yeah. April of 2007. We flew all night, dog tired. Andy went to bed. I stayed up and I checked with my buddy Tim. And it was actually 2 years to the day because in April 2005, I watched the Grand National Horse Race. And April 2007, I watched the Grand National Horse Race with Tim. And I said, Tim, is everything ready? Because I had sent him in February. I mailed him over a photograph of Andy and I. I put it in a little baggie, you know. And on the back of it I said, Andy, will you be my partner for life? Will you spend the last sunset with me? And Tim went up to the temple, stuck it under the rock, and put the rock back down, so it was all ready to go. And I said to Tim, it's all ready, but how am I going to get it to pick up the stone? He said, I have no idea. Because how could you do that? You can't walk up and do it yourself, right? So we woke up and went to dinner that night, and Andrew said to me, you know, we should go up to that castle you're always talking about. I said, yes. Let's do that tomorrow morning. So we went hiking up to the castle, and we went there, and the Muslim temple was on the edge of the cliff, and when there's a rattling, we went inside. I still didn't know how I was going to get her to pick up the stone, but I knew one thing for sure. I wanted to take a picture of it, just to capture the moment, right? Now, if you ever travel with one other person, you'll notice that your travel photos only have one person in them, because one person has to take the picture. So I said, well, let's do a timer. So I put the timer on the windowsill, and I was about to set the timer, but I noticed that the windowsill had a slope in it. It was actually sloping down. And I said, oh, it's going to take a picture of our feet. I said, Andrew, can you grab a stone to prop up the camera?
And guess which one she picked?
She leaned over and she picked up that stone. She was actually kind of stunned for a second because she like there's a picture of us glaring up at her, and we just walked into the building, right? And we just flown overseas, walked in the building. There was. She said, how'd they get there? And when she turned around, I was on my knees and I asked her to marry me.
You could bring a tear to a stone eye.
I can bring a tear to a stone eye. That's beautiful. Well, I'm telling you that story because I'm not good at this. I didn't read anything on this. It just happens. I 100% put my heart into a dream that I wanted to have happen. 100%. And I stumbled on it, folks. I didn't design this. I couldn't make that up if I tried. I stumbled on it. Do I do lotto numbers? That's a good point. Like bring lotto numbers back to the temple, see what we can do. But there's a difference between, that's a fantasy, right? Winning lotto is a fantasy. The difference between a dream and a fantasy. A dream is something you can have.
This is a retirement plan.
Retirement plan for you, that's great. So we got married July 7th, 07. I did that because all the rooms in Costa Rica that we stayed in were all number 7. 701, room 17. We got the rings in Belfast the next day, and we didn't even notice the embedded diamonds. We noticed the embedded diamonds in the ring, but when the guy went to count them for measuring resizing, he said there's 7 diamonds, and so we had a little 7 thing on the go too. So I share that with you because it's the first phase. It's the ask phase. When you're really, really clear about the ask phase, something really happens. So that's the big picture. Okay. Second phase of the ask is to believe. Okay, to believe. We're going to do your own ask thing in a second here, but to believe. To believe is to have worth that you're worthy of receiving. That's the bottom line. It's not about receiving, it's about believing in your dream. Now, there are 2 attitudes out there in the world. There are attitudes called the attitude of gratitude, or there's the attitude called stinking thinking. And every day we have 2 attitudes to share, don't we? We have 2 attitudes to go through our lives. We have stinking thinking, where everything is no, or naysay, or can't do, can't do. Or we can have the yes we can, which is a brilliant phrase, and just go for it and have the attitude of gratitude. So your attitude of gratitude on your belief, on your ask phase is really, really powerful. And I want to share with you an honest story that I think will hopefully bring it home, that when you're given, I like to see life as 10% what happens to you and 90% what you think about, right? 10% of life is going to happen. You're going to get sick, you're going to have a divorce, you're going to get a car accident. That's going to happen. But 90% of what you think about is the stuff that you've got mastery in. And that's part of the dreamweaving phase, is to make sure that your ask, that 10% of the ask is emboldened, if you will, with a positive, powerful belief that you're worthy of having it. Make sense? Now, in your handout there's a fear of success test. That's one of the sabotages of the belief. This notion that we are not worthy of success. And believe it or not, people will absolutely sabotage their success because they fear that the change it's going to bring is worse than what they got. So have a look at the fear of success test. Have some fun with that. We're not going to do it today. Just want to share that with you. But I do have, and you know about fear, right? F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real. Ever heard that? Fear is false evidence appearing real. Because whatever we fear is false evidence appearing real. It becomes bigger than life, right? Ever get afraid of something bigger than life? But when you actually confront it, it's not so bad? Yeah. F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real. All fear is made up in the mind. All fear is imagined. Most fear is based on the fact that something like it has happened in the past and you think it wasn't a good thing. So you don't want to do it again in the future. So fear of the future, guilt of the past, or be in the moment present now. So I want to share with you another piece of this. Yeah, it's a worthy conversation. Let me go back in time. Since I was divorced 23 years ago, there was a little piece of me that didn't feel worthy of a relationship. I have to be honest with you. There was a little piece of me that's like, I would be in a relationship for 2 years and then I find something wrong and then I back out, right? There's that little fear of commitment thing. I know it sound like a typical guy, but whatever. The little fear of commitment thing, or that little wounded heart, little wounded boy that's always been like was bashed on the rocks of the divorce 25 years ago. And so there's always a little piece of me holding back. So where this thing came from, to pick up that stone and say, wow, I'm going to bring the woman I love back to this place, like that's really out of character for me. But I stuck with it. But I had an incident or an episode where I thought I would not stick to my plot, and I probably delayed my dream for about 6 or 7 months. So let me backtrack and tell you what that's all about. 10% of life is what happens to you, 90% of what you think about. I got the 10%. In May of 2005, the month after I got back from Ireland, I started developing symptoms of stiffness in my right hand. I had a hard time brushing my teeth, hard time writing with a pen. You know how you sign a credit card, really, you know, do you ever really sign your name or just go, you know, I just go, right? I don't sign my name. But when I had to write, I found it really hard to write. So I went to the doctor in July of 05. He said we should get that checked out. I went to a specialist and neurologist in October of 05, and he gave me a choice. He said, you either have a brain tumor or you have Parkinson's. I said, thank you for that option. So I had to wait for an MRI in January of 06 to I didn't have a brain tumor. So in January of 06, I was officially diagnosed with Parkinson's. Now, I don't know if you know Michael J. Fox or if you know Muhammad Ali, but Muhammad Ali looks, you know, he's kind of shaky and doesn't talk much and kind of drools a little bit. And I had this image in my mind of being in a wheelchair and drooling like next month. And I thought, wow, that's going to really screw up my chances of getting a girlfriend. So for a couple of months, I was ashamed, I felt bad, I had a stinking thinking attitude, and I actually didn't tell anybody for a year. I was really embarrassed because I'm so young, I'm healthy, I've run 2 marathons, I've climbed a couple of mountains on 3 continents, like I'm a healthy physical guy, right? But my stinking thinking took over for about 6 or 8 months. And during that time, I wasn't worthy of anything. In fact, I actually wrote a letter to Oprah. Can I tell you this? I wrote a letter to Oprah. The Oprah TV, right? I said, Oprah, you should do a show on guys that are been diagnosed with a debilitating degenerative disease and are afraid to be loved and fear they're not going to be loved by anybody. I actually mailed that to her. I never heard back. Why? I don't know why. I never heard back. But anyway, never heard back. And so I was talking with a pity party, right? I was in my pity party. I was having a fabulous pity party, all by myself. And so what I'm saying is I actually sabotaged the belief phase. I did not believe I was worthy of love. I did not believe I was worthy of that dream. So I don't know what you do to yourself, but that's what I did to myself. Now everybody has their little stiffening thing, you know. So my arm gets stiff. That's my Parkinson's. But where do you get stiff? Where do you stiffen up your possibilities? Where do you close down your possibilities? Where do you tighten up your imagination to say to yourself, I'm not worthy of love? Okay? Because it happens to everybody. I've never met anyone that somewhere doesn't have a little person on their shoulder saying, you're stupid, you're too slow, you're too smart, you're not smart enough, you're too fat, you're too thin, you're too gray, you're too old, you're whatever. That's some little message that says that, you know. Well, I'm inviting you to go, ping, right off your shoulder, because the belief phase is to say, yes, I truly, with all my heart believe this dream that I'm trying to weave into my life is worth the while. So here's a little phrase for you. Jot this down if you like. Everything you have done or have not done is worthy of love. Now, pretty soon we're going to have a big hug here, so get ready for that. Everything you have done or not done is worthy of love. Everything. That's the belief phase. Ask with full heart, believe with full appreciation for the possibility of receiving, and then finally we get to the receive phase. And here's a quick receive test. You know whether you're receptive to receiving? Does that make any sense? Whether you're receptive to receiving? So ask, believe, and receive. Now, once you get it, you've got to be ready to receive it. Quick reception test, and you can do this in your own imagination right now. When someone gives you a compliment or recognizes you for something that you did that was positive or helpful, do you say thanks? You don't have to answer the question. But if you don't say thanks, on the spectrum of the receive energy level here we're talking about today, the receive being like relationship, incredible stuff over here, lottery tickets, whatever. The receive is just saying thanks to a compliment on the spectrum. So if you're blocking this, if you're not saying thanks when someone says, I love your style, I love how you helped me out, I love how you dress, I love how you look smart, I love how you're talking to that person the other day, I love how you helped resolve that conflict, I love how you, if you don't say thank you, you're blocking the reception. Okay? So that's your test. I can't tell you what you do. Maybe you say thanks sometimes, maybe you don't say thanks sometimes. What I'm inviting you to do is say thank you all the time, because when you say thank you, you're saying I'm worthy to receive a compliment, a gift, a message, a new car, a boat, a house, a relationship down the road. That's part of the energy of the reception part. The other part of the receiving thing is a tremendous challenge that people run into around being attached to the form. Okay, now, does that make any sense so far? I'll give you an example. Being attached to the form. There's a kind of like a little internet story that's been going around. There's a guy in a flood, and he prays to God to save him, right? Prays to God, save me from the flood. The waters are rising, the river's overflowing its banks, And he's up by his house, and he's kind of waiting for to be saved. And the guy in the four-wheel drive comes by, and the water's right up to the door of the four-wheel drive, and says, "Don't open the door, just get in the back. I'll take you to safety." He says, "No, I'm waiting for God to save me." And then he realizes he has to get up on the roof of his garage, and the guy in the boat comes by and says, "Get in. I'll help you out." And he said, "No, I'm waiting for God to save me." Of course, he has to climb up on the roof of the roof of his house because the floodwaters are rising. And a rescue helicopter comes by and says, "Get in the helicopter." No, he said, "No, I'm waiting for God to save me." And of course, he dies. He drowns, goes up to heaven, and says, "What God? I prayed you to save me. You didn't do anything." And he said, "What are you?" The God said this. I quote, "What are you, stupid? I sent you 3 people to help you out." God didn't really say that. He wouldn't say you're stupid, but he said he sent 3 people. So we get attached to the form. One of the greatest barriers to receiving is to being stuck on the form that you wanted it. Stuck in the form. Because when you let go of the form and then release it, it's kind of a beautiful thing. Let me bring it back to me, because I always have a little story to go with this. That might be enlightening or not. It's hard to say, but we'll tell you the story anyway, because I'm here. April of 2007, I go back to Ireland. Do some more work in Ireland, go back to the castle, and I said, you know what, just for fun, I'm going to try another little slip of the message under the stone thing, right? So the temple's actually closed. So what I did was I wrote on the stone. We've been married for about a year and a half, about a year or so, and we've been trying for kids. Every month, up and down, mostly. We've been doing that cycle, you know what I'm talking about. So up and down, wasn't working. So I thought, I'm going to write down on this piece of paper, I want a baby. Just want a baby to love. That's what I said. Baby to love. I said I want X amount of dollars. I want 3 or 4, dozen more gigs. I do speaking stuff all around the country and all across the world and all that. So I want probably 12 or more gigs would be great. So I wrote that down, put it in a piece of paper, stuck it in a rock, and slid it way underneath the crack of the corner of the window. And April 2007, then May of 2007, we decided to go in vitro. I don't know if you've ever gone in vitro, but what a crazy process that is. I had to stick needles in her stomach to get, it's gross. Anyway, that didn't work. So we had been trying for about a year. The vitro didn't work, and we actually got discouraged, and we actually released the idea, we released the attachment of giving birth to a baby. We actually let go, and we use this little thing, we're going to be child-free. That's the phrase you use, right? When you can't have a kid, you can be child-free. And then we decided to get a puppy. That was going to be our little substitute for love, right? So we got a little puppy on the Labor Day weekend. And September the 9th, we get a call from my wife's sister. And she asked us a question that you really can't say no to. She said, if a baby dropped in your lap, would you keep it? And we said, you got to tell us more. You got to tell us more. She had written a letter to a friend of a friend. Her sister-in-law's husband works on the railroad rigs, and that friend's daughter she's 16, she's having a baby. Private adoption. The family wanted to go private. They didn't want to get into the system, get too caught up in the system. They wanted to go private. And they were actually receiving, if you will, invitations or proposals, I guess, for lack of a better word. So my sister-in-law wrote a letter on our behalf. It was accepted by the mother and her mom and her grandmom. And they agreed that we could be the adopted parents. That was September. The baby was born November the 28th. We had to do a fast home study because this ordinarily takes 6 or 7 days, 6 or 7 years, 6 or 7 months. And she came home December the 16th. She had her ninth week birthday last Friday. And I left the house this morning and I forgot to leave the soother behind with me. I took the soother with me. This is the best soother. I'm in deep trouble with my wife because this is the best one. The other ones don't quite do the job. So I tell you that as a story to hopefully.
A real?
Yes. Her name is Hannah. She's home in my house right now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How old is she?
9 weeks.
Oh my
I
God.
thought you said 19 at some point. That's what
9 weeks. 9 weeks old. So we have a 9-week-old baby home now. While I'm saying that, folks.
And the puppy too?
Oh, we're gonna get the puppy. That's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. The puppy's pooping on the carpet. Whatever. It's like John Kabat-Zinn said. He said, "Have you ever been married?" He said, "Yes, I've been married. I've had the wife, the house, the kids, the full catastrophe." I got the whole show. But I'm telling you that because I let go of the form that I thought it should be in. I thought we were going to give birth to a baby. Now I'm 49, she's 43. That's really slim pickings. We held on to that. We went through the most roller coasters. And once we let go of how we, because I just wrote down, I want to love a baby. That's all I wrote down. It never occurred to me that we'd have an adopted baby. So I tell you this to invite you to create the space, to create the climate, to create the invitation for you to write your own dream. You have a sheet. You have a sheet. Whatever's inspired you in our conversation so far today, I'm going to invite you to write on this sheet. This is a 3-layer sheet. It's a triplicate sheet. It's three hits here. We got 3 hits. I want to invite you to write down whatever you want in terms of what you'd like to dream for your life. You can pick a category if you like. You can say, I want more love in my relationship. I want whatever you want. I'm not even going to pretend to know what you dream for. I'm inviting you to weave that into your dreams. So I'm going to give you some quiet time now for the next couple of minutes. I'll share with you the reasons in triplicate. Copy number 1 goes for you. That's for you to keep. Copy number 2, I'm going to suggest the yellow copy, goes to your best friend. Why? Because when you ask, we're doing the ask right now. We've got just 6 minutes to do the ask. The believe in the receive phase, that's up to you. But the ask part is right now. Write in triplicate what you dream for your life, because you came here for a reason today. I want to honor that. What do you dream for? Write in triplicate. It'll be in triplicate. Keep 1 for yourself. Give 1 to a best friend, because best friends will keep you accountable. So write it down. Make it accountable. Make it public. And the 3rd one, the pink one, as an option, if you'd like to give it to me, you can put it in an envelope. Put your name on the envelope and your address on the envelope. Seal it. You give it back to me, and I'll mail it to you in 3 months. Okay, so if everyone does the envelope, I'll mail it back to you. I got a couple envelopes from the last group. We have to mail it to you. And if there's anybody here that would love to have this frame, because you got a dream that you really want to make happen, I will give you this frame. Okay, so take the next couple minutes to write any thoughts and ideas you have down about your dream. Dream weaving. Take a nice deep breath before you start writing, by the way, to really ground yourself. Make sure your feet are flat on the floor. Make sure you're really grounded. This could be an important moment for you if you put your heart and soul.
I'm not having a baby.
But that's a good point. Don't put down what you. I love your humor, but don't put down what you don't want. Put down what you do want. Okay. Anything. Take anything off the list. Take anything that's inspired you in my conversation today. And I told you very personal stories. Of course, your stories are your own. Anything that you believe in. You came to this session for a reason. I want to honor that. What is a dream that you would like to have for your life? More of this? Typically it's more. If you dream for something less, then that's a sort of not awkward thing to do. But typically, more of, or richer this, or richer that. Now, write it on the front page of this, if you'd be so kind. Sorry, I'm not giving the instructions very well. This is a 3-part invoice. Okay, this is a 3-part invoice. If you write on the front and bear down, it'll make 3 copies. Okay? 1 copy for you, 1 copy for your friend, and 1 copy for the envelope that I'm going to give you. Because I'm going to mail it back to you in 3 months. Just to see how it goes, okay? So 1 copy for you, just to hang on to, and 1 copy for your friend that you're going to share it with, because you have to be accountable for your dream. So a good friend, you want to say that you're at a workshop, this guy tell a couple stories, remind you of the dream weaving that you want to do for your life. You want to weave this dream into your life. And if you'd like me to mail it to you in 3 months, I'm going to give you an envelope, and I'm going to get you to seal it and put your address on the front cover. I can't do anything more at the ask phase, and this is the ask, folks. You take it where you want to take from here, but this is the ask. So you're going to triple up your chances. That's what I'm saying.
Does the dream weaving involve your own life, or can it involve some life of somebody that's around you, like your wife, your children?
That's prayers. That's different. Dream weaving is for you.
It's for you.
Now, if you want to be a better dad, you want to be more loving, but typically wanting to will goodness towards others could be part of your dreamscaping, but it's fundamentally there's something for you there's something that comes back to you. And that could be healthy kids. So if you have a sick kid, for example, you can wish for that. But typically it's about how you participate with that more than about changing someone out there. So that's a really good question, though. Okay. So ask, believe, and receive. We've done the ask right now. I just created an inspiring moment. Now, did you folks have to bring a checkbook? I said in the blurb, bring a checkbook. Let me tell you how that works. If you want to set any goals around this area, you want to do a little bit more thing and notched up on that first level, this is what you do. There's only 2 things that motivate people: inspiration and desperation. Those are the only 2 things that motivate people. Hopefully I've created an inspiring space for you today, so you can be inspired to take your dream weaving, but you can also do it from desperation. And the desperation is this: you write a check to your friend for $500, for $1,000, for $2,000. You tell them you're going to do something towards fulfilling your goals by 3 months from now. If you haven't done it, they cash the check. Now that sounds funny, but it really, really works. Now if you can ask them to cash the check for a charity if you want, but the point is that desperation little trigger, that little stick in the side of your butt, that'll make you do. I guarantee you'll make you do that. Okay, you want to eat no chocolate for 3 months? You can measure that. Okay, so no chocolate for 3 months, and she'll give the check back to you, rip it up, or your friend will give you the check back to rip it up. Then you're good. So if you really want to pump up that desire, pump up that drive to get something done, write a check to your friend, and if it's a really good friend, they will cash it. They will not frig around on it. They will cash it. Not just because they want to go shopping, but because they want to help you. They want to help you. Has this been helpful? Short period of time, has it been helpful for you? Give you a few thoughts and ideas. Make sure you take a handout. If you want to have the envelope up here, please pass it in. And thank you so much for taking a moment to talk about Dreamweaving.
Thank you.
Oh, Dreamweaver, I believe we can celebrate this beautiful life. Oh, Dreamweaver, I believe we can put a smile back on our face. Oh, Dreamweaver, I believe that this is a gorgeous baby. Oh, Dreamweaver, yeah, I think that you are the best in the life. Oh, Dreamweaver. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking the Dreamweaver course. Hopefully you manifest all your dreams. Here's one of my dreams sitting here in front of me. It's a beautiful life, and it's to celebrate life and its infinite capacity for love. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for signing up for the Dreamweaver tape, and all the best in your dreams.